I'm lying in an emergency room. My car a mangled wreck, my arm shattered. I text my girlfriend, the person who is supposed to be my emergency contact, asking for help. Her reply flashes on my broken screen. A message so cold and selfish, it instantly becomes the catalyst for a revenge so public, so precise, that would not only end our relationship, but completely dismantle her entire social life. My job is to exist in the epicenter of chaos. As a paramedic, I arrive when ordinary life has been fractured by violence or tragedy. I'm the calm voice you hear after the crunch of metal, the steady hand that finds a pulse amidst the wreckage. I see people on the single worst day of their lives, and in those moments, you see what they are truly made of. You see the husband who refuses to leave his wife's side, the mother who sings to her injured child, the stranger who holds the hand of the dying. In the shadow of flashing lights and screaming sirens, you witness the absolute best of humanity. And then there was Kate. A car accident, a broken arm, and a single text message that showed me the absolute truth of her. We had been together for 2 years, living in an apartment that I had poured every spare dollar and ounce of sweat into securing. On the surface, our life was a picture of modern romance. She was vibrant and beautiful, a social creature who could charm any room she walked into. I was the opposite, quiet, grounded, the stable foundation to her whirlwind of activity. I believed our differences made us stronger. I provided the anchor, and she provided the sails. It seemed like a perfect balance. The only persistent crack in that foundation was a man named Julian. He was her male best friend, a title she brandished like a shield whenever my discomfort showed. Julian was the textbook definition of a trust fund cliché. He had a vague job as a consultant that seemed to primarily involve multi-hour lunches at Michelin-star restaurants and dispensing life advice he was utterly unqualified to give. His bond with Kate was, as she always insisted, sacred. It was a closed loop of inside jokes I was never privy to, a constant stream of texts that would cause her to smile secretively at her phone. I'm not a jealous man. My profession requires a level of calm detachment. But the energy between them always felt like a private club, where I was the perpetual guest, never a member. It was a two-person universe, and I was just a satellite in their orbit. But I trusted her. When she told me they were just friends, I made a conscious choice to believe her. That trust, I would soon learn, was as fragile as glass, and it was about to be shattered beyond repair. It happened on a Tuesday. I was driving home after a grueling 24-hour shift, exhausted to the bone. The sky had opened up, releasing a torrential downpour that turned the streets into slick, black mirrors. A teenager in a modified Honda, probably thinking he was in a street racing movie, blasted through a red light. I only had a split second to register the headlights before the impact. It wasn't a noise. It was a physical force, a percussive violence that ripped through the car. The world became an abstract painting of screeching metal, exploding glass, and the horrifying, intimate sound of my driver's side door crumpling against my body. The next thing I knew, I was looking up at the concerned faces of my own colleagues. My brothers in arms, the paramedics from the next shift, were carefully extricating me from the twisted metal coffin that used to be my car. I was strapped to a backboard, a thunderous drum beating inside my skull, and a searing, white-hot pain was radiating from my left arm. As they were securing me in the ambulance, a familiar face leaned in. It was Officer Dave, a good cop I'd shared countless grim scenes with. "Hey, Adam," he said, his expression serious. "Your car is a total loss. We've got the tow on the way, but protocol says we need to make an official notification to your emergency contact about the accident and where the vehicle is being taken. Who should we call?" Through a haze of pain, I gave him her name. My girlfriend, Kate. I recited her number, my voice raspy. The trip to the ER was a chaotic blur of medical jargon, the snip of scissors cutting away my uniform, and the blessed relief of painkillers flooding my system. The x-rays came back with a verdict: a clean fracture of a humerus and a moderate concussion. I was lucky, battered, bruised, and broken, but alive and whole. An hour or so into my stay, a nurse came into my cubicle. "Mr. Sterling? We tried your emergency contact, Kate," Several times, but her phone goes straight to voicemail, she said kindly. Is there anyone else we could try for you? My stomach plummeted. Voicemail. I knew instantly. It was Tuesday, her sacred standing lunch date with Julian. She always turned her phone on silent for those. With my one good hand, I pulled out my phone. The screen was a spiderweb of cracks, but the display still lit up. I typed out a simple, direct text. Hey, I was in a bad car accident. I'm in the ER at St. Mary's. Broken arm. Car is totaled. Can you come get me? I watched the screen, my heart pounding in time with the ache in my head. A few minutes passed. Then the three little dots appeared, a sign of life, of a response being typed. And then the message came through. It was a message that would detonate the entire landscape of my life. OMG, that's awful. So sorry to hear that. But I'm actually in the middle of a really important lunch with Julian right now. Can't just leave. Can you get a taxi or something? Let me know how it goes. I read it once, then a second time. A strange and profound calm washed over me, a chilling clarity that cut through the drug-induced fog. This wasn't just a thoughtless reply. It was a declaration. She was weighing my verifiable, hospital-confirmed emergency against a social engagement with another man and the emergency lost. I was a logistical problem to be solved with a taxi, an interruption to her appetizer. In that moment, I wasn't hurt. I wasn't sad. I was assessing, like I would at a trauma scene. The relationship was the patient, and this text was the terminal diagnosis. I thought of Officer Dave. I thought about the official police report that still needed to be completed, and a plan began to form in my mind. A cold, beautiful, and devastatingly appropriate plan. I took a screenshot of her text. Then I typed back a single word. Okay. My next call was to Officer Dave. Dave, it's Adam Sterling, I said, my voice eerily steady. Thanks again for the help out there. Quick question. You guys were trying to get a hold of my emergency contact, Kate. I know she isn't answering, but I know her exact location. For your report to be complete, you need to make an official notification, right? I think given the severity, it would be best if an officer spoke to her in person to ensure she understands the situation. I gave him the name of the restaurant, the Gilded Spoon. There was a pause on a line, and then I heard the understanding in Dave's voice. Not a problem at all, Adam, he said, a new, hard edge to his tone. We'll dispatch a patrol car to make an in-person notification immediately. You just worry about getting better. I hung up, leaned my head back against the stiff hospital pillow, and almost smiled. Kate was having a very, very important lunch, and it was about to be officially and very publicly interrupted. The hour I spent waiting for the hospital to process my discharge was the calmest I had felt in years. The physical pain was a dull, manageable throb, but the emotional turmoil had been cauterized. The betrayal was so clean, so absolute. It had bypassed all the usual stages of grief and left me with a cold, surgical resolve. My colleague Mike, who'd been on the ambulance that brought me in, stopped by my room. You look like you're planning a coup, he said, reading the expression on my face. I didn't say a word. I just showed him the text. He read it, and a disgusted look crossed his face. You have got to be kidding me, he muttered. She dished you for lunch with that pretty boy? She did, I confirmed. So what's the plan? He asked. The plan is already in motion, I said. I sent the police to her. Mike stared at me, then let out a slow, appreciative whistle. Dude, that is the most savage and brilliant thing I have ever heard. The full story of what transpired at the Gilded Spoon was relayed to me later by Dave, and it was more perfect than I could have ever orchestrated. The Gilded Spoon isn't just a restaurant. It's a stage. It's a place where the city's elite go to perform their wealth and importance. Kate and Julian were at a prime table, visible to the entire dining room, reportedly laughing over a bottle of rose that cost more than my weekly groceries. Then, two uniformed police officers walked in. The restaurant fell silent. The air, once filled with chatter and the clinking of glasses, became thick with tension. The officers moved with a calm, deliberate purpose, their presence an anchor of stark reality in a sea of superficiality. Their eyes scanned the room before landing on Kate and Julian's table. They walked directly to it. One of the officers, a tall, no-nonsense cop, addressed Kate directly, his voice professional but loud enough to carry. "Ma'am, are you Kate Miller?" Kate, visibly annoyed by the interruption, looked up. "Yes. Is there a problem?" "Ma'am," the officer began, his tone flat and official. "We are here to make an official notification regarding a major vehicle collision involving your partner, Mr. Adam Sterling. He was transported from a scene by ambulance to St. Mary's Hospital with significant injuries." The color drained from Kate's face. Julian's hand, holding his wine glass, froze mid-air. The officer continued, his voice a steady, unwavering drone of facts. "His vehicle was totaled in the collision. As you are listed as his primary emergency contact, we have been attempting to reach you for the past 2 hours. Mr. Sterling informed us of your location and requested we make an in-person notification to ensure you are aware of the incident and to inform you that you will need to coordinate with the towing company for the retrieval of his personal effects." Every word was a perfectly polished stone of public humiliation. Major collision, significant injuries, vehicle totaled, emergency contact. The officers weren't accusing her of a thing. They were simply reading from the official script of tragedy, and in doing so, they were painting a masterpiece of her callousness for the entire restaurant to see. Here was a woman, enjoying an intimate lunch with another man, completely unreachable while her partner was in the hospital. Julian was no longer looking at his special friend. He was looking at a monster of selfishness. "That is all, ma'am," the officer concluded. "We recommend you head to the hospital." With that, the two officers turned and walked out, leaving a crater of stunned silence in their wake. Her very important lunch was over. The aftermath was a predictable symphony of frantic damage control on her end and cold, calculated action on mine. My sister, my real emergency contact, picked me up from the ER, her fury a palpable force field around me. I went to her house to recover, with no intention of ever setting foot in my apartment again until it was sanitized of Kate's existence. My phone began to explode. A barrage of texts and missed calls from Kate. "Adam, I'm on my way. So sorry, my phone was on silent." The classic pathetic lie. "Then, where are you? They said you were discharged? Why are you sending me to voicemail?" And finally the turn. "This is your fault. You sent the cops to humiliate me on purpose." Her trajectory from feigned concern to narcissistic rage was breathtakingly fast. I read them all, then blocked her number without a reply. The final nail in her coffin came from Julian himself. He messaged me on social media that night. "Hey Adam," it began. "I was with Kate today. I had no idea about your accident." The way she brushed it off was unsettling. "I paid my half of the bill and left right after the police. That's not the kind of person I want in my life. I'm done with her. Hope you recover quickly." It was a self-serving message, but it was confirmation. Her sacred bond had evaporated the moment it was exposed to a harsh light. With my sister acting as my field marshal, we executed the final phase. She hired a company that specialized in breakup removals. They descended on my apartment and systematically packed every item Kate owned into boxes. Every dress, every shoe, every photo frame. A locksmith arrived an hour later and changed the locks. Finally, my sister sent an email to Kate from a new, sterile address. The subject, retrieval of personal property. The email was a masterpiece of cold, legal finality. It informed her that her relationship with me was terminated, and as she was not on the lease, her residency was also terminated. It gave her a 48-hour window to schedule a 2-hour slot to have her box belongings professionally removed, during which she would be supervised. It stated that any property not collected would be considered abandoned and disposed of, and any attempt to contact me would be treated as harassment. She had treated my emergency as a logistical inconvenience. I was now treating her life as one. It's been 7 months. The bone has healed, the headaches are gone, and my life has been returned to a state of blessed peace. Kate complied with the email, showing up with her father to collect her things, looking defeated. The social fallout was, by all accounts, catastrophic for her. The story of the Gilded Spoon incident became gossip gold. She was branded. She was the woman who chose Rose over the ER. About a month ago, she sent a long, rambling email, a masterclass in blame shifting and non-apologies. She'd panicked. Julian had pressured her. She missed the stability I provided. She'd learned her lesson. I didn't respond. I just set a filter to send any future emails from her directly to the trash. The public scene was never the true revenge. That was just the opening act. The real revenge was the quiet, absolute finality of my actions. She saw me as a convenience, a stable but boring part of her more exciting story. So I simply and silently wrote her out of the script. I took back the life I had built, and I locked the door behind me. The true victory is knowing that when the ultimate test came, I saw the truth of her character with perfect clarity, and I acted. She didn't just fail the test. She lit the paper on fire and walked away to finish her lunch. The life she lost was the real consequence.